now have 3 type selectors with the exact same styling, and add the same group of styles to many elements by creating a list of selectors. The thing I was just talking about. There, now we are not repeating ourselves. Excellent. We'll style 3 elements by writing CSS inside the style tags. This works, but since there will be many more styles, it's best to put the styles in a separate file and link to it. I've created a separate styles.css file for you, and switch the editor view to that file. You can change between the files with the tabs at the top of the editor. Start by rewriting the styles you have created in the styles.css file. Make sure to exclude the opening and closing tags. Like so. And doing it in a separate file like this and linking to that file is, like I said before, how you want to be doing all your CSS. As it's much more efficient and you don't clog up the main file this way. You have the CSS and the styles file, go ahead and remove the style element. And generally, barring very specific circumstances or you hardly needing any styling, you will not be seeing a styles element in any HTML files ever. Something to bear in mind. And now we've removed that, it shifts back to the left because we currently do not have the styles.css file linked. We're just trying to use it when it doesn't exist. Yes, now we need to link it up. And link is a self-closing tag. And we need to give it a rel, or rel if you prefer, attribute of style sheet. You might be able to do it without doing that, I don't know, but this basically tells the HTML that this is a style sheet and you want to use it to figure out what the CSS should be. And we also need to give it a link value for href so that it knows where to find the file, which can get a little convoluted sometimes depending on how you have your file structure set up, but more on that when we get to it. The styling of the page looks similar on mobile as it does on a desktop or laptop. We need to add a meta element with a special content attribute. Add the following within the head. Device width, initial scale. We'll put that right below the chart set. And there. Text is centered again, so the link is working. Add another style to the file that changes the background color property to brown for the body. go. That brown background makes it hard to read the text, so it's time to change the background color a little bit. Let's see. Burleywood. Now we can, in fact, read the text. The div element is used mainly for design layout purposes, unlike the other content elements you've used so far. Add a div inside the body and then move all the other elements inside it. Although, despite what they're saying there, div is actually similar to the section. You can kind of think of it as a custom section for content that's not important enough to be its own page section, but you still need to divide it out from the other content in some way or other. That's what a div is used for. It's a container that you put stuff in. And congratulations, div. You now have an ID. The goal now is to make the div not take up the entire width of the page. The CSS width property is perfect for this. You can use the ID selector to target a specific element with the ID attribute. ID selector is designed by placing the hash symbol in front of the element's ID value. So like this. And right here it has us defining the specific number of pixels we want that div to have. In general, you'll find that you won't define specific pixel values. There are other ways to set the width of something that don't rely on pixels that you'll probably do more. As for the reason why, basically, if you define it based on pixels and the screen size changes, you have to redefine it every single time the screen size changes, whereas if you use something different, like percentages or one of the other values that haven't come up yet, then you can make a lot less changes and get the same result. Comments in CSS. Comment out the line containing the background color properties. You can see the effect of only styling the menu. Which you'll notice that I didn't type anything. This is a feature of most code editors. You can do to turn something into a comment. If you need to comment out some code or something, hold down the control key and then hit the / key and it will comment out that whole line or whatever you've got selected. Most programming languages support this, so you won't find yourself not able to do it in many circumstances. Although this is not what most comments in programming are used for. The vast majority of them are instead used to put notes in your code so that you know what a specific section is doing. If you're building a great big project and you want to take notes of where specifically you're accomplishing certain things so that if you move on to something else, or you come back to that project 5 years later, you don't have to just guess and hope in order to figure out what is doing what. You can actually look at the notes within your code to figure that out. Right now, set the background color to be pearly wood inside of our ID selector here. There we are. It's easy to see that the text is centered inside the menu element. The width is specified in pixels. Change the values property to be 80%. Make it 80% the width of its parent element. And also, because it's a percentage, we'll have to change a lot less when the screen size changes, which is always nice. Next, we want to center the menu horizontally. Do this by setting its margin left and margin right to auto. As you saw right there, when I don't have a semicolon, you get a red error mark over one of the curly braces, because it's basically your code editor shouting at you that there's something wrong with the way you have things set up. And warning you there's an error. But there we have it. Center thing is center. So far, I'm using type and ID selectors to style elements, where it's more common to use a different selector to style your elements. This is the thing I was talking about before, how you could select it with other things, not the ID and not the specific element. Classes. A class selector is defined by a name with a dot directly in front of it. The menu selector into a class selector. Like so. But now we have to change the ID into a class in the HTML. Everything's working again. Because generally you don't want to have a whole bunch of IDs. IDs are a couple of rare, unique elements that have special importance, is how I've heard it described. Whereas for a class, you can give every single element up to and including the header, main, and footer elements that is present in your HTML. You can give them all classes, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, since the cafe's main product for sale is coffee, we can use an image of coffee beans for the background of the page. Delete the comment and its contents inside the body type selector. Which would be, this right here would be why we didn't just get rid of the body selector entirely. Now add a background image property.